Hello,
Yeah.
everybody. Welcome. We're glad to see everybody. It is Monday night. We have a wonderful, wonderful online event for you. Good to see so many smiling faces, and got some faces we hadn't seen in a while, and some new faces. It's great. It's good to see everybody. We are super excited tonight to host and have with us our good friend Rob Cochran with OneSourceRV. So, Rob, I'm going to turn the floor over to you. Tell us who we got tonight.
Well, thanks for starters. I appreciate everybody showing up. Really excited to kind of get this uh, education series rolling. We do have some great resources, and one of them comes with you tonight. Been a great relationship with these folks, and Southwire is a pretty large company, kind of divisioned up, and Mike Conway, who's with us tonight, is going to go through some really neat stuff with you. I think you'll be shocked when you see all this. It's just electrifying information, and without further ado, I will go ahead and turn it over to Mike, and we'll just get through this, and then stick around to the end. There's some neat things we want to talk about at the end too. So, with that, Mike, it's all yours.
Awesome. Thanks, Rob. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Appreciate you setting some time aside to learn about electricity and protection in your RV. So as Rob said, my name is Mike Conway. I'm the National Sales Manager for Southwire. As we look at who Southwire is, Southwire electricity is all we do. We've been in business for over 73 years now, and we are headquartered in Carrollton, Georgia. Here in America, North America. So very proud that everything that we're going to talk through today from a product standpoint when we get there is all designed and engineered by my engineering team in Largo, Florida. The wire is all USA made wire, and then we assemble the product in our North America assembly facility that's actually located in Honduras. And so have a great team there that we've worked with, and we've been in production at that facility since 1993. So with all of that, I mentioned who Southwire is, right? And so one of the things a lot of people might not realize is we as a company provide OEMs a lot of product. And when I say RV OEMs, you can see the brands that are on here. These are just a couple of the brands that we service with the SurgeGuard and Shoreline Reel product. So I'm sure you see a brand or two you might recognize here, but these are partners of ours that we provide SurgeGuard product to every day. And so when you think about your home on wheels, you're coming into a new service center, a new home when you pull up, and you're connecting to that shore power. You know, when you connect your shore cord, this is a 30 amp and we'll get into it, but when you're plugging this in, you're plugging into a brand new feeder system, we call it in the electrical space. And so that feeder system, you don't know who was there before you. You don't know if it was wired properly. You don't know if it was damaged the last time it was there. You don't know if the circuitry feeding it is all right. And so for that reason, you need electrical protection in your RV. And when we talk about electrical protection, there's some terms that we're going to run through just to kind of set the baseline here to help you make sure everyone's on the same page on some terminology. And please don't let your eyes glaze over here and go into a fog, because it can happen. But so the number one term that people are familiar with, we're familiar with it at our house, right? Are power surges. We need a surge protector for our entertainment center. We need a surge protector for our new computer. Well, power surges, people think of as like high voltage, and that's not accurate. A power surge is a blip on the radar that happens in a very short time frame. We're talking microseconds, we're talking milliseconds. And so a power surge is a spike in power. Voltage sags accompany surges, but it's milliseconds, microseconds. When we talk about voltage, high voltage and low voltage conditions, those are longer durations, and we'll get into that in a moment. But so a power surge is just a short blip on the radar. A miswired pedestal is exactly what it means. It means it's not connected properly. An open neutral is, so we're going to take a look here. at a plug. Let's see if you can see it. So on this plug, this is a plug that you're all familiar with, right? Every appliance we have is this plug. So you have a ground pin, you have a hot, and you have a neutral, okay? So when you lose that neutral, it means there's no grounded conductor there, okay? So you still have your ground, but your neutral is a common. That back at the main load center, those two are actually tied together. But anyways, that unit is broke. It's not there. On a 15 amp plug, so if I lose neutral and I plug in my hair dryer, I just don't get any power. When I plug in my 30 amp RV and I don't have a neutral, I don't have any power. It means that the loads won't turn on. I still will have hot, so the hot is still connected, and that means there's voltage there. So if the hot and ground, the circuit gets completed between there, you'll get shocked. You'll have energy, but if you just plug in, nothing will power up if it's a correctly designed circuitry and you don't have a neutral. When we get to a 50 amp RV, it's a bit different though. So on a 50 amp RV, when we're talking about open neutral condition, it actually becomes catastrophic. And so I'd like to show you this slide here. So what happens on my 50 amp RV, I have my neutral, or I'm sorry, my ground here, okay? I have my leg 1 and I have my leg 2. Everyone see that? I think everyone can see that. And you share this neutral, this bottom flat pin. Okay, so leg 1 to neutral is 120 volts. Leg 2 to neutral is 120 volts. When I lose that neutral, instead of having 120 and 120 across, I now have a 240 volt loop. And so what happens is the leg that has high voltage goes, or I'm sorry, the leg that has higher amp draw will go high voltage. The leg that has lower amp draw will go low voltage, and you'll have damage inside the RV very quickly. And an open neutral on a 50 amp rig can happen just because you don't have it plugged in all the way. So if you have it plugged in, but that neutral isn't seated right, so the plug head's kind of tilted like this because you're low on the ground, you could not have a neutral connection here. Open neutral on a 50 amp RV can be very catastrophic very quickly. And that's something a lot of people aren't aware of. They think that, hey, if I don't have a neutral, it just means I don't have power. And it's true on a 30 amp rig, but not on a 50 amp, totally different. Going on to more terminology here. Open ground. So an open ground condition, we're gonna go back to this 15 amp plug because everyone knows what these are. No one's worried about a 15 amp plug, right? That's this round plug on the bottom that sometimes will break off because we couldn't get it in the outlet. And so we break that ground off, causing an open ground. An open ground condition means that the appliance, the load that's plugged in, doesn't have a place for stray voltage to go. Every electronic device that is out there has leakage with stray voltage, and it goes back to ground. And you have to have a solid ground for that stray voltage to go back to. On an RV, if you don't have a solid ground when you're plugged in, that stray voltage stays on the metal chassis, on the metal frame. And so anytime you go up and you touch the metal, you can get a shock, a tingle, right? That should never happen. You should never get shocked. But an open ground condition can cause a shocking hazard very quickly. So be aware of that. Two more terminologies to go through real quickly. Reverse polarity is the hot and neutral legs flipped. Instead of being wired properly, black wire to hot, white wire to neutral, they're flipped. And then the last terminology I want to go through with you guys is the number one issue in campgrounds, which is high and low voltage. What is high and low voltage? People say, hey, I have 108 volts, or I have 122 or 125. That's outside of the range. It's not. So high and low voltage is defined by UL. So UL is Underwriter Laboratory. They are who writes standards and tests the standards. So you have in North America, you have this code body called NEC, North America Electric Code is what it stands for. And in NEC code, you have UL, who does all the testing and writing of the specs for the standard. So voltage is acceptable anywhere in the range of 102 volts to 132 volts. A standard 15 amp or a standard 30 amp RV, 120 volts, anything 102 to 132 is acceptable. I, as a circuit manufacturer, when I design a circuit board, I have to operate within this range, no questions asked. That's mandated by UL. That's a requirement by North American Electric Code. The problem is when we get outside of those range, what happens? Low voltage is the #1 issue out in campgrounds as far as the voltage condition. And low voltage doesn't damage electronics instantaneously. High voltage can do that, especially when you get 139 to 140 volts and higher. You can have damage to electronic circuit boards and electronic components in a matter of seconds. Low voltage degrades electronics over time. Okay, so with that, we're going to go to why is there an issue? And it's nothing the campgrounds are doing wrong. I don't want you to think that, oh, every campground is bad. That's not the case at all. The problem we have is it goes back to NEC, North American Electric Code, that we apply to campgrounds. We apply a residential code. Okay, and so I, as a campground manufacturer, actually, I'm going to use Rob. Rob, as a campground manufacturer or an owner, he owns Rob's campground. He's going to put in 10 campsites. Okay, of those 10 campsites, you would think if he's wiring it for 100 amps power, a 50 amp RV, 100 amps power, we'll get into that in a moment. But he's taking those 10 campsites. Each one needs 100 amps power. Easy math, me being a guy would just think 10 times 100 would be 1,000, right? Well, according to North American Electric Code, residential neighborhoods get to use this demand factor scale. And so when I get to 10 campsites or 10 homes in my subdivision, I only have to provide 50% demand for my 100 amps power. So if I'm taking 100 amps times 10, excuse me, sorry, I only need 500 available amps at 120 volts. What happens when I exceed that 500 amps? Does power just automatically shut off? No. Power doesn't magically just shut off. The breaker doesn't just trip. What happens is your voltage and your amp draw equal your total wattage, your total available power. So when your when your amperage exceeds the 500 that you're allowed to have, you take away from your voltage. And so you're going to bring down that voltage. And so that's why you see voltage drop inside campgrounds. Even if they're following everything perfectly, they're set up for failure because of the wrong NEC code. If we applied North American Electric Code for industrial divisions, the low voltage problem would go away predominantly. It'd be a much smaller scale. Okay, so when we talk about protection for your RV, note that voltage, high and low voltage, is the #1 issue in campgrounds. The second issue is actually surges. Okay, and the reason why I bring that up is everyone thinks that all protection is the same. No matter if I buy a surge strip or if I buy a total electrical protection or an EMS or some of the other names that are out there, people think that they're all the same. One's just $50, the other one's just $500. The difference is the type of protection you're getting. So one last bit of knowledge that I want to make sure everyone's aware of, because it can be confusing, is on RVs. So I have a 30 amp RV, right? I'm guessing on this call, half of the community is 30 amp RVers. Your 30 amp RV, you have 120 volts, you go to a campground, you just plug in, you don't think twice about it. The time when you plug in that you should think twice about is when you're at somebody else's house or a brand new electrician wired it up, because the outlet that a 30 amp RV is connected to is also the same style of outlet that we connect 220 volt dryers in the electrical industry to, and welders. And so anytime you go to a friend's house or to a one of the camping sites where it's not at a campground, anytime you're have an electrician just wire it up, please be careful. I've had more people's RVs lose all the electronics or a majority of the electronics because they plugged into a welder plug or to a dryer plug that they thought they could plug their RV into and fry everything. Okay. My friends who are a 50 amp RVer, you're my language. Okay. I like power. I like a lot of power. Our 50 amp RVs are great because you have two legs. You have leg one at 50 amps. You have leg two at 50 amps. Together between them, you have a total of 100 amps of power. I love this because this is as much power as my first home had in Elkhart, Indiana, where I had a ton of power. I used a welder. I did everything. You have a ton of power. The thing to note with this is when you go and you adapt and you plug one of these wonderful adapters, whether it's this style or it's a corded style, and you go from a 50 to a 30, you're going from 100 to 30, or from 100 to 15. So you need to be very cognizant, be very careful of what you have turned on, because if you're tripping a breaker, there's something bad happening. The wire here isn't designed for the load. The wire in the house or in the garage or in the barn isn't designed for the load that you're connecting that 100 amps of power to. And so you're asking for problems. So please be aware when you adapt, you really need to be aware of what your voltage and amp draw is on each leg on your 50 amp service. So with that, we're going to talk about what makes Southwire different and what solutions does Southwire offer you for your RV. And the first thing to note, if you don't see it behind me, is that Southwire SurgeGuard is the only brand that puts our money where our mouth is. And what I mean by that is Southwire offers not just a lifetime warranty on our SurgeGuard, whether it's the entry-level units or the full protection units, but we also offer a connected equipment coverage. And a connected equipment coverage means that anything I plug in to the unit and plug in to my RV is protected. And so that can be from low voltage, high voltage on the full protection units, complete protection. On the Surge only, it's from Surges. And Southwire will cover any damage to your RV, including the labor to replace the electronics in the RV. Okay, so that's something that no other brand does in the RV space, is a connected equipment warranty or in conjunction with a lifetime warranty. In addition to that, we already talked about the two different types of protection. So there's Surge with diagnostics, and it doesn't matter if it's Southwire or if it's any other brand out there. There's always two different types that they fall into. So you have the Surge with diagnostics, and we have the full electrical protection. Okay, and so we're going to talk through the Surge with diagnostics, and I'm going to use the product that we've had out for, I don't know, 10 years, maybe a little longer. So this is our 44260, so 44260 unit, SurgeGuard. Also now has a white label on some of them, but the unit is phenomenal because it gives you a nice LED, or I'm sorry, an LED screen here that tells you with the LED lights if you're wired properly. So if you're plugged in and you have good power, they'll both be green. If there's a problem, it's going to tell you on the outlet chart that you have a problem. This unit can withstand 100 individual 6,000 volt surges without loss of function or feature. That means it can take 100 6,000 volt surges and those lights still operate. The unit plugs not be damaged. So really great features on this product. Also, all of Southwire's SurgeGuard products have an easy pull handle. They fold into the unit. On the output side, you also have an easy full handle. So this is the start of the surge protection that we offer. This is going to be our 44260, 44270 is the 50 amp version of this. The next item that we would offer that would still be considered a surge with diagnostics is going to be what I'm going to show you on the screen here. And that is the 44380 or 44390. You might also see out there a 44280 or a 44290. Going to be similar products. Only difference is these two that I have on the screen have the weatherproof cover over the receptacle, and we pay CUL to list the product. So that's going to be the only difference. But the nice thing that these offer are on the receptacle part, and I'll use this one as a demonstration. On the receptacle part, it has a thermal sensor in here. So it knows that if there's too much heat buildup on the output side, it can sense that and give you a light to tell you, hey, you need to unplug because you're drawing too much power, too much overcurrent, or because you need to clean off the plug from corrosion. So these also include an integrated lock ring there. So the lock ring is going to be on the cord, so you can tie it to the pedestal so it doesn't get legs and walk away. All of these units that I've covered so far are what I classify as a surge strip for your RV with wiring diagnostics. It's good protection. It's a start, but it's not going to protect you from the number one fault that's out in campgrounds, which is voltage issues, right? So for that, you're going to need to go with the full electrical protection. And so full electrical protection, easiest way to understand it is it's a computer that's constantly monitoring your power. And if it needs to interrupt, it automatically disconnects. When power comes back to an acceptable range or an acceptable condition, it will automatically reconnect for you. So it's seamless. You don't have to do anything. The unit has an integrated lock ring, starts up in 10 seconds. And it also comes with our phone app. So the nice phone app here with the SurgeGuard 34931 for 30 amp or 51 for 50 amp. Great feature that is free for anyone with a 34931 or 34951. Also with this product, it has load side. So load means output side, open neutral protection. So if you lose neutral going into the RV, not only will we sense that, but we'll disconnect power as well. In addition to that, if you have this or the 30 amp unit, it also has overcurrent protection. So that means if your RV, let's say I have a 30 amp RV and I have an air fryer plugged in, I have the coffee maker going, the air conditioner is running. Right there, I'm probably already over my 30 amps. But let's say I adapted into that 50 amp outlet. So now I don't have a main breaker that's tripping. That never happens, I know. But hypothetically, let's just think about it for a minute, right? If you're in that situation or it's winter and you're running space heaters, our unit, not only on our screen, will show you your voltage and your amp draw. But in the event that you end up getting over on the amp draw, it will protect the RV from a thermal event by disconnecting power to ensure that you don't have elevated current for too long. So that's a great feature that we offer. Again, lifetime warranty, connected equipment coverage, best protection on the market. Last item, couple items here to go that I just want to share with you. One is show you a couple of those screenshots of that phone app so you can see right on here some of the cool things with the phone app. The great thing I like is over here on the far right, showing all of the faults. So your newest faults on the top, your lowest faults on the bottom, and it tells you in plain English why you lost power, why it disconnected power. You can also go and find what does that mean. There's a button that you can click for, tutorial guide and an explanation of what those terms mean. So it makes it really nice and simple. Lastly, Southwire is known in the RV industry for our transfer switches. Your rig might have our transfer switch on it, or you might want a hardwired solution built into your rig. A transfer switch is a great way to have all of the protection of a portable unit, but always installed. We can definitely offer that for you as well. And OneSourceRV has those in stock, has them available for you, the full transfer switch lineup. So just know every one of our transfer switches offers some level of protection, including our basic transfer switches. So our basic transfer switches offer open neutral protection. The basic transfer switches with reverse polarity protection offer open neutral, open ground, and reverse polarity protection. The surge protection with reverse polarity protection gives you all of the protection that I already listed, plus surge protection. And then the full electrical protection with RVC is total electrical protection for your rig.
Gonna say, let's give Mike a amazing round of applause.
Yeah, everybody.
Because I mean, y'all are all
Gallery.
muted, but he can see you.
Yeah, this is called the muted applause, Mike.
Yes.
This is what happens
Thank you all.
on a large Zoom room with a lot of computers.
Yes.
It's a muted applause,
But you can at least see.
the
And
appreciation is still there.
I don't know about anyone else, but I learned some stuff tonight. I was pretty impressed. So
Absolutely.
thank you.
Yep.
Thank you with that.
So thanks so much. Rob, any last words from you? I think you've got an exciting announcement.
Again, guys, thank you very much. And OneSourceRV, you know, we you can go to the website if there's a question, anything really. You know, we've got a great staff to support you in that as well, and look forward to bringing some more of these informational seminars and products and deals your way in the future. So thank you guys very much for being here this evening. Thank you, Mike, so much for hosting on here. We really appreciate the support.
Hey, thank you for having me. We greatly appreciate everyone's time.
Thank you, folks.
Well, thanks so much, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your night, and we'll see everybody tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night, don't miss out.
Take care, everybody.
Have a
Thanks.
great night.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Rob.